Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are not just opening a book. We are cracking open a vault.
That's a great way to put it.
We are dusting off a text that is arguably the grandfather, the absolute patriarch of the entire self-improvement genre.
It really is the source code. It's,
Yeah.
it's the DNA of the whole industry.
Exactly. If you've read a book on success in the last 50, 60 years, I guarantee you, chances are it stole something from this book. We are diving into Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
And we have to stop there for a second.
We absolutely do, because I know what some of you listening are thinking. You hear that title and you roll your eyes.
Oh, yeah.
You think, oh, great, another get-rich-quick scheme from the 1930s, manifesting money, woo-woo stuff.
And that is a totally fair reaction to the title. I mean, it sounds like a late-night infomercial, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
But we need to set the record straight before we go one step further. This isn't just one guy's opinion. This isn't a blog post written by some 20-year-old life coach.
Not at all. This book is the result of 25 years of obsessive research.
25 years.
That is the critical context. This wasn't written in a weekend. Napoleon Hill was commission challenged, really, by Andrew Carnegie.
And for those who might not know the scale of Andrew Carnegie, we're not talking about just some rich guy.
No, he was the steel magnate, one of the richest men in human history. We are talking Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos' levels of wealth, adjusted for inflation, a titan.
And Carnegie gives Hill this assignment. He says, I want you to interview the most successful people in America. And then he just opens his Rolodex.
And what a Rolodex it was. We're talking about access to Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, John D. Rockefeller, Alexander Graham Bell.
The actual makers of the modern world.
Over 500 of the titans of the Gilded Age.
Just imagine having that contact list today. It would be like having direct access to Gates, Zuckerberg, Buffett, and asking them, okay, but how exactly did you do it?
Right. And the goal was very specific. Carnegie believed there was a magic formula for success. He believed that success wasn't just luck, and it wasn't just being born into the right family.
He thought it was a process.
The scientific process, yeah. Something that could be analyzed, codified, and then taught to the average person. So Hill spent a quarter of a century extracting that formula.
And today, our mission is to unpack that formula. We're going to break down the specific steps. Hill outlines moving from the abstract idea of thought to the very concrete reality of wealth.
And we're going to do it by looking at the incredible and honestly sometimes bizarre historical anecdotes he uses to prove his points.
The case studies are the best part. They really are.
They're what make the book come alive.
We've got a billion-dollar dinner speech, a gold mine that literally vanished into thin air.
And a guy who decided to go into business with Thomas Edison despite looking like he just rolled out of a dumpster.
It's an amazing collection of stories. But before we dive into the first one, there is one thing you, the listener, need to know.
Yes. Hill does something very clever, almost gamified in this book. He mentions a secret.
The famous secret.
He says this secret appears in every single chapter, but he never actually names it directly. He refuses to just give it to you on a silver platter.
He wants you to work for it.
Exactly. He believes that the secret works best when you uncover it yourself. It's about active participation, not passive reading.
So as we go through these stories and principles today, I want you to keep your ears open.
Try to spot the recurring theme, the underlying current that drives every single one of these success stories. By the end of this hour, we'll see if you found it.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with the concept that kicks off the whole philosophy in Section 1, the power of thought and desire.
Right.
And Hill starts with a story that honestly sounds like the opening scene of a movie, the story of Edwin C. Barnes.
Edwin C. Barnes is the perfect example to start with because on paper, he is the anti-hero. He had absolutely nothing going for him.
Nothing.
Except one thing.
So paint the picture for us. It's the early 1900s. You have this guy, Barnes. He has a burning desire, a singular obsession.
And it's a crazy one.
It is. He doesn't want to work for Thomas Edison. He wants to work with Thomas Edison. He wants to be his business partner.
Which is a hilariously audacious goal. I mean, Edison is the most famous man on the planet at this point. He's the Wizard of Menlo Park. Barnes is nobody.
Worse than a nobody. He has no money. And we need to really visualize this. He has so little money, he can't even buy a passenger ticket to Orange, New Jersey, where Edison's lab is.
He has to hop a freight train.
Blind baggage, they called it.
Right. So he's not sitting in a seat. He's likely in a cattle car or hanging off the side, exposed to the elements. He's a vagrant.
So imagine this. You are Thomas Edison. You are in your pristine laboratory surrounded by world-changing inventions. And in walks this guy.
He arrives in New Jersey, unwashed, probably covered in coal dust and soot,
Yep.
looking like, to use Hill's words, a tramp.
A hobo?
A drifter, yeah. And in 1905, social stratification was very, very real. A tramp demanding a meeting with Edison is like a homeless person today demanding a one-on-one with the CEO of Apple.
The audacity is actually physically uncomfortable to think about.
It is. And he walks into Edison's office and announces he's there to go into business with him.
I mean, in 999 times out of 1,000, security throws this guy out on his ear, right?
Immediately, without a second thought. But here's where it gets fascinating. Edison didn't kick him out.
Why not?
Years later, Edison reflected on that moment. He said, "He stood there before me, looking like an ordinary tramp, but there was something in the expression of his face which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he had come after."
Wow. So it wasn't what he said, it was how he looked.
It was his presence, the nonverbal communication of absolute intent.
That's the first lesson, isn't it?
It is. Edison hired him not because of his resume and certainly not because of his clothes, but because he saw a determination that just wouldn't take no for an answer.
Huh?
Barnes didn't look desperate. He looked inevitable.
And this is so crucial, Barnes didn't get the partnership that day. This wasn't a fairy tale where Edison says, "I love your spunk, kid. Here's 50% of the company."
Not at all. Not even close. He got a job sweeping floors.
Sweeping floors.
He was doing menial labor for a nominal wage. He was at the absolute bottom of the totem pole.
For 5 years.
5 years. That is a long, long time to scrub floors while watching the man you want to be partners with walk past you every single day.
Most people would have quit. I would quit after 6 months. I'd have said, well, I tried, but clearly it's not happening.
Exactly. But Barnes saw it differently. To everyone else, he was just a cog in the wheel, a janitor. But in his own mind,
He was already Edison's partner.
he was Edison's partner from the moment he walked in. He was just waiting for the rest of reality to catch up. He was biding his time, watching, learning the business from the ground up.
And then the opportunity comes. And it comes in a weird package.
A really weird package. The Edison dictating machine.
The Ediphone.
Right. It was this clunky early device, a precursor to the dictaphone, and Edison's sales force hated it.
They thought it was a joke.
They looked at it and said, "This is ugly. Nobody wants to record their voice. We can't sell this." They thought it was a total dud, a commercial failure.
But Barnes saw something else.
Barnes saw a vehicle. He didn't care about the machine per se. He cared that it was his ticket out of sweeping floors. It was his shot.
So he goes to Edison.
He approaches Edison and says, "I can sell this."
And Edison, probably desperate to move these units, just says, what? Fine, go for it.
Pretty much, give it a shot. And Barnes sold it. He sold it so successfully that Edison eventually gave him a contract to distribute it nationwide.
And that led to the famous slogan.
Made by Edison and installed by Barnes.
And that made him a rich man.
It made him a multimillionaire. But Hill points out that he gained something infinitely greater than money. He proved a psychological law, that an intangible impulse of thought, a desire, can be transmuted into physical reality.
Hill uses a phrase here that I love. He says, Barnes burned his bridges.
Yes. This is such a powerful concept. It's a military strategy going back to ancient times. If you want your army to fight harder, you burn the boats they arrived in. There's no retreat.
Barnes didn't say, I'll try this Edison thing, and if it doesn't work out, I'll, go back to being a salesman in the Midwest.
No. He said, "I will burn all bridges behind me and stake my entire future on my ability to get what I want." He left himself no way out.
He had to win or perish.
That win or perish mentality is the differentiator. I think this is where most of us get stuck. We love our plan B. We love our safety nets.
We're conditioned to have a plan B.
We are. And Hill argues that plan B is exactly what keeps you from succeeding with plan A. It's the safety net that prevents you from jumping far enough. If you know you can retreat, you won't fight with everything you have.
It's terrifying, though.
Oh, it's absolutely terrifying. That's why so few people do it. It goes against every instinct for self-preservation.
So Barnes had the desire. But Hill doesn't just leave it at have a desire. He actually gives us a formula. He breaks it down into 6 specific steps to transmute desire into gold.
These are practical steps. This isn't just wish upon a star. This is a cognitive framework, a recipe.
Okay, let's run through them because they're deceptively simple. Step 1. Fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire.
Exact is the key word here. You can't just say, "I want plenty of money," or "I want to be rich."
Why not? That seems like a clear enough goal.
The brain doesn't know how to process vague requests. It's like typing food into a GPS. It doesn't work. You need to type in a specific address, a specific number.
So not a lot of money, but $1,250,500.
Yes. A number so specific your mind has to take it seriously. Okay, step 2.
Step 2, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money.
This is critical, and it's the part that's often overlooked by people who criticize this book. Hill is very, very clear. There is no such reality as something for nothing.
So this isn't about just manifesting cash out of thin air.
Absolutely not. If you think you can just visualize money without providing value, you are delusional. You have to define the service, the product, the idea, the value you are exchanging for that specific amount of money.
Okay, that makes sense. Step 3, establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money.
A deadline. It creates urgency. It forces the brain to stop procrastinating and start calculating. Without a deadline, a goal is just a dream.
It's just someday.
Which means never.
Right. Step 4, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and start immediately, whether you are ready or not.
That last part. Whether you are ready or not. That is what trips people up. We always want to wait for the perfect moment.
Analysis paralysis. I'll start when I have more time. I'll start when I know more.
Exactly. Hill says just start. The plan doesn't have to be perfect. Movement is more important than perfection. You can course correct along the way.
Step 5, write it all down. A clear, concise statement of the amount, the time limit, what you're giving, and the plan.
Making it physical, getting it out of your head and onto paper helps crystallize the thought. It makes it feel more real, more binding.
And finally, step 6. This seems to be the one he emphasizes the most.
It's the most out there step, but he argues it's the most important.
Read your written statement aloud, twice daily, once just before sleeping and once just after waking up.
And here is the nuance that makes step 6 work. You can't just mumble the words like a grocery list. That does nothing.
So what do you do?
Hill says you must see and feel yourself already in possession of the money. You have to generate the emotion of having already succeeded.
That's the hard part, isn't it? Pretending you have it when you're broke. It feels delusional.
It feels fake at first. But Hill argues that this is where the burning desire comes in. If you want it bad enough, it's not hard to convince yourself it's coming. We are talking about conditioning the subconscious mind.
So you're essentially tricking your brain.
You're tricking your brain into believing the success is inevitable. It's like an athlete visualizing the winning shot 1,000 times before they take it. When the moment comes, their body already knows what to do.
So when you visualize the outcome with emotion, it triggers, what, something in your brain?
It triggers the reticular activating system, the RAS. It's the brain's filter. It starts filtering reality differently. You start seeing opportunities you would have missed otherwise because your brain is now primed to find the path to that goal.
So it's not magic, it's psychological conditioning.
Precisely. It's self-directed neuroplasticity. You're rewiring your brain for success.
Okay, so that's desire. But desire alone isn't enough. You need persistence.
Oh, absolutely. Desire is the fuel, but persistence is the engine.
And this brings us to section 2, and one of the most famous stories in the book, the story of 3 Feet from Gold.
This is a tragic comic story, really. It involves a man named R.U. Darby and his uncle.
So set the scene. It's the gold rush days. Darby's uncle gets gold fever. He packs up, goes west to Colorado, stakes a claim, and starts digging with a pick and shovel.
And he finds it. He actually strikes gold. He finds the shining ore.
But getting the ore out of the ground requires heavy machinery. You can't do it with a shovel.
Right. So he quietly covers up the mine, goes back east to Maryland, tells his relatives, including young Darby, and they raise the money. They are all in.
They pool their life savings.
They buy the machinery and ship it out. They start drilling. The first car of ore is shipped to the smelter.
And the returns are huge.
Huge. They realize they have one of the richest mines in Colorado, a few more cars, and they're debt-free. Then comes the pure profit. They are ecstatic. They're popping the champagne.
And then the worst possible thing happens.
The vein disappears.
It's gone.
Poof. They've hit a fault line or the vein shifted. 1 minute it's there, the next it's just rock.
So they drill desperately. They try to pick up the trail again. They keep going, day after day, burning cash, but there's nothing.
Finally, the despair sets in, the hope dies.
They give up, they quit, they sell the machinery to a junk man for a few $100s and take the train home in defeat and shame.
Now here is where the story pivots. Most people assume a junk man is just a scavenger. But this junk man had some brains.
He sure did. He was smart.
He didn't just start digging randomly. He did something the Darbys never thought to do. He called in a mining engineer.
He hired an expert.
Exactly. He asked an expert, look at this mine. What happened here?
And this is the difference between working hard and working smart.
It's everything. The engineer did a little calculating, checked the fault lines, and said, the project failed because the owners weren't familiar with fault lines. My calculations show the vein of gold is just 3 feet from where they stopped drilling.
3 feet.
3 feet!
That hurts. That physically hurts to hear. I feel that in my stomach.
It's brutal. The junk man dug 3 feet and made millions. Millions!
But let's analyze why it happened.
Yeah.
Darby and his uncle quit because they lacked specialized knowledge.
Right. They assumed that because they couldn't find it, it wasn't there. The junk man succeeded because he knew what he didn't know, and he hired someone who did. It's a lesson in humility.
But Darby didn't let this destroy him, which is the whole point of the story.
No, and this is why Darby is in the book. He lost a fortune because he stopped 3 feet from gold, but he later became a phenomenally successful insurance salesman.
And he credited that failure for his success.
He said he owed his success to that lesson. Every time a prospect told him no, he said to himself, I stopped 3 feet from gold, but I will never stop because men say no when I ask them to buy insurance.
He turned a massive, crushing failure into a philosophy that made him rich in a completely different field.
He realized that no doesn't mean stop. It just means you have to dig a little deeper or maybe change your angle. It's temporary defeat, not permanent failure.
Now, talking about digging deeper, there's another story about Darby in this section that is even more intense. The story of the child and the 50 cents.
Oh, this one gives me chills.
It's a very cinematic scene. So Darby is helping his uncle, the same uncle who lost the gold by the way grind wheat in an old mill. A small child, the daughter of a tenant farmer, walks in the door.
And context is vital here. We are in the post-Civil War era, likely early 1900s rural America. The uncle is a white man of some status. The child is a young black girl.
In that time and place, a black child defying a white adult was unheard of. It was dangerous.
Extremely dangerous. The power dynamic is completely, utterly lopsided.
Right. The uncle looks up and barks, "What do you want?" And the child says meekly, "My man," he says, "send her 50 cents.
The uncle, predictably, refuses. I'll not do it. Now run on home.
The child says, "Yes, ah." But she doesn't move. She just stands there.
The uncle goes back to work, looks up, sees her still there. Now he gets mad. I told you to go home. Now go or I'll take a switch to you.
And she says, "Yes, ah," again. But she still doesn't budge. She's glued to the spot. Rooted.
Now the uncle is furious. He's enraged. He grabs a barrel stave, a heavy piece of wood, and starts walking toward her with murder in his eyes.
And Darby is watching this thinking, I'm about to witness a beating or worse.
He's horrified. But then the climax. When the uncle gets right up in her face, the child doesn't flinch. She doesn't cry.
She steps forward.
She steps forward, looks him right in the eyes, and screams at the top of her lungs, "My mammy's got to have that 50 cents."
And it freezes him. It just stops him in his tracks.
The uncle stops. He just looks at her. He drops the barrel stave. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out $50 and gives it to her.
And the child takes the money and backs out the door, never taking her eyes off him. She won.
She conquered him.
What happened there? I mean, psychologically, why did the uncle crumble?
Hill analyzes this as a perfect example of transmuting desire and conquering fear. The child had zero physical power. She was small, she was socially disadvantaged, she was unarmed.
She had nothing.
Nothing except a burning desire that was so intense, so absolute, that it dominated the situation. She left no room for no. It wasn't an option in her mind.
It's like she vibrated on a frequency that the uncle couldn't resist.
Exactly. Her will was stronger than his physical power. She captured his will because her intent was stronger than his resistance. It's a lesson in the power of mind over circumstance.
If you were totally committed, truly 100% committed, the world often gets out of your way.
Or at least the obstacles that seem so big suddenly crumble.
Which brings us directly to section 3, faith, autosuggestion, and the subconscious. Because what that child had was a form of faith.
A powerful form of faith.
Now, I have to play skeptic again. When Hill says faith and autosuggestion, my alarm bells start ringing. It sounds like we're veering into mysticism.
It does. It sounds very new agey.
Is Hill saying you just sit on the couch, close your eyes, and manifest a Ferrari?
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is the biggest misconception about this book. Hill uses this esoteric language of vibrations, infinite intelligence, because he was writing in the 1930s. That was the language of the time.
But if you translate it,
If you strip away the vintage phrasing, what he's describing is actually standard cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It's modern psychology.
okay, explain that. Break it down.
He defines faith as a state of mind induced by autosuggestion. He calls it the head chemist of the mind. When faith is blended with thought, the subconscious mind picks up the vibration and translates it into its physical equivalent.
Translated to modern terms.
Your subconscious mind does not distinguish between a real physical experience and one that is vividly imagined with emotion. If you repeatedly affirm a desire and you mix it with emotion, and Hill says faith, love, and sex are the strongest emotions, the subconscious accepts it as fact.
And then what happens?
It then starts working behind the scenes to make that fact a reality. It's programming.
So you are essentially programming your own software. You're writing code for your brain.
Yes, you are hacking your brain's filter. You're telling the subconscious, this specifically is important to me. So you aren't summoning money from the ether. You are tuning your internal radio to the frequency where opportunities for money exist. You start noticing things you never would have noticed before.
And to help with this, to help with the programming, Hill provides a self-confidence formula.
It's a 5-part formula. It's basically a daily mantra, a daily commitment.
Let's go through it. Number 1.
First, you have to know you have the ability to achieve your purpose. So you demand of yourself persistent, continuous action.
Number 2 seems to be about visualization.
Right. Realize that your dominating thoughts will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action. So concentrate your thoughts for 30 minutes daily on the person you intend to become.
30 minutes is a long time. That's real commitment.
It is. But think about how much time people spend scrolling social media, comparing themselves to others. This is about redirecting that focus inward.
Okay. 3rd.
Devote 10 minutes daily to developing self-confidence through auto-suggestion.
4th is about writing it down again.
Yep. Write down your definite chief aim in life and never stop trying until you have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment.
And the 5th one, it's interesting because it brings in ethics. It's not just about me, me, me.
Right. It's a commitment to engage in no transaction that doesn't benefit all whom it affects. He says a negative attitude will never bring success.
Which counters that old idea that you have to be a ruthless, cutthroat person to get rich.
Hill insists that wealth built on injustice or harming others won't last. It's not sustainable.
Now, to prove the power of this faith in autosuggestion, Hill shares probably the most personal, most moving story in the entire book.
The story of his own son, Blair.
This story is heavy.
It is deeply moving. So his son, Blair, was born without ears. Not just deaf, but physically without the external ear organs.
And the doctors gave him a grim diagnosis.
They said he would be deaf and mute for life. There was no hope.
Imagine hearing that as a father. Your son will never hear a sound. He'll never speak a word.
It would be devastating. But Hill refused to accept it. He wrote, "Nature can send me a child without ears, but nature cannot induce me to accept the reality of the affliction."
That's an incredible statement of defiance. So what did he do?
He did the opposite of what everyone told him to do. He didn't learn sign language. He didn't send the boy to a school for the deaf.
He treated the child as if he could hear.
Exactly. He poured desire into him. He wanted to implant the burning desire to hear and speak into the boy's subconscious mind. He used bedtime stories to program the boy's self-reliance.
And he told him his affliction was actually an asset.
Which sounds completely crazy. How is having no ears an asset?
Right.
Hill didn't know how yet. He just believed it was. He told the boy, "Because you have this challenge, you will have an advantage over everyone else because you will have to develop unique strengths." And the boy believed him.
So the boy grew up with this mindset.
Yes. And as he grew up, they noticed he could hear slight sounds, slight vibrations. Then, one day, they brought home a Victrola, a record player.
And this is the breakthrough moment.
The boy went ecstatic. He played a record over and over again for 2 hours, but they couldn't figure out how he was listening.
Until they looked closer.
He was standing in front of the machine with his teeth clamped onto the edge of the wooden case.
Bone conduction.
Exactly. Before bone conduction was a widely understood medical concept for hearing aids, this boy discovered he could hear through his jawbone and skull.
That must have given them so much hope.
It changed everything. Later, as a young man, he tried an electrical hearing aid, but at first it didn't help. It was just noise, static.
But he kept trying.
Until one specific device came along. He tried it, and suddenly, the world opened up. He could hear voices. He could hear the radio. He rushed to the telephone and heard his mother's voice perfectly for the very first time.
But the story doesn't end there. Remember the asset part.
Right. So Blair realized that his unique experience could help others. He wrote to the manufacturer of the hearing aid. They invited him to New York.
He came up with an idea.
An idea to help the hard of hearing. He turned his so-called handicap into a career working with the company to help thousands of deaf people.
So Hill's claim that desire can outwit Mother Nature actually held up in his own family.
It illustrates that if you refuse to accept a limitation, even a profound physical one, and you back that refusal with absolute faith and persistent effort, you can find a way around it. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about bending reality to your will.
That is powerful stuff. Okay, let's move on to section 4, the imagination. Hill calls this the workshop of the mind.
He distinguishes between two types of imagination, synthetic and creative.
What's the difference between them?
Synthetic imagination is basically remixing. It's arranging old concepts, ideas, or plans into new combinations. It's what most inventors or business people do.
So like a smartphone is synthetic imagination. It's a phone, a camera, and a computer all combined.
Exactly. Creative imagination is different. That's the hunch, the inspiration. That's where new ideas seem to come from nowhere. And this is where Hill gets a little mystical again. He says it's connecting with infinite intelligence.
Let's look at a concrete example of this imagination in action. The story of the enchanted kettle.
Ah, yes. The origin story of Coca-Cola.
So an old country doctor comes to a drugstore. He's selling a kettle, a big wooden paddle, and a little slip of paper with a formula on it.
And he sells the whole lot to the drug clerk, a man named Asa Candler, for $500.
Which was Candler's entire life saving.
Everything he had. The doctor is happy to get rid of it to pay his debts. But the clerk, Candler, took a massive risk. Why?
Because he had imagination.
Because he added the one ingredient the doctor didn't have, imagination. The formula itself was just a recipe for syrup. But Candler imagined an industry.
He didn't see a kettle, he saw a global brand.
Exactly. He imagined a drink that would be sold in every city, in every country. Hill says the enchanted kettle produced an industry that supports sugar growers, glass workers, artists, and clerks worldwide.
The magic ingredient wasn't the syrup.
It was the imagination that built the business model around it.
It's the difference between having a product and having a vision.
Precisely.
Then there's the story of the sermon that bought a college. This is Dr. Frank Gonzalez.
This is a classic example of moving from wishing to deciding. So when Salas was a young preacher in Chicago, he had this big idea to start a new kind of school.
A school where students learned by doing. Practical, hands-on education, not just theory.
Right. But he needed $1 million.
Which is about $30 million today. Not exactly pocket change you find in the collection plate.
No. And for 2 years, he thought about it. He wished for it. He worried about it. He did nothing but think.
2 years of just wishing.
Then came the turning point. He got tired of thinking. He decided. He made a definite decision. He said, I'm going to get this money within 1 week.
He didn't know how.
No idea how. But he set a hard deadline. He announced a sermon for the following Sunday titled, What I Would Do If I Had $1 Million.
That's a bold move.
It is. He writes the sermon, prepares meticulously, goes to the pulpit, and realizes he forgot his notes.
Oh, no.
Which was a blessing in disguise. If he had read from notes, it would have been dry and academic. Instead, he had to preach from the heart.
He just poured his soul into it.
He poured his soul into that vision. He closed his eyes and spoke directly to what Hill calls the infinite intelligence. When he finished and opened his eyes, a man was walking up to the pulpit.
Philip D. Armour, the meatpacking king of Chicago, one of the richest men in the city.
Armour said, I liked your sermon, young man. I believe you could do everything you said you would. If you come to my office tomorrow morning, I'll give you the $1 million.
Just like that.
Just like that. The lesson is, he got the money 36 hours after reaching a definite decision, whereas 2 years of vague wishing produced absolutely nothing.
It really emphasizes that the universe or people or opportunity responds to clarity.
Clarity and commitment. When you are ambiguous, the world ignores you. When you are definite, the world pays attention.
Okay, let's shift gears to section 5, specialized knowledge. Because a lot of people think, I need to know everything to be successful. Hill says, Wrong.
He makes a huge distinction between general knowledge and specialized knowledge. He points out that university professors have arguably the most general knowledge in the world, but most of them aren't rich.
So knowledge isn't power.
Knowledge is only potential power. It only becomes power when it's organized into a definite plan of action, directed to a definite end.
And the best example of this, my favorite story in the whole book, is the story of Henry Ford and the libel suit.
This story is just pure gold. It's so revealing.
I love this story because it shows Ford's attitude perfectly. So a Chicago newspaper had called Ford an ignorant pacifist. Ford, being Ford, sued them for libel.
So they are in court, and the newspaper's lawyers are trying to prove that Ford is, in fact, ignorant. They start grilling him on basic trivia.
Just hammering him with questions. Who was Benedict Arnold? How many soldiers did the British send to America in 1776?
They're trying to humiliate him. They want to show the jury that this great captain of industry is actually a dummy who doesn't know basic history.
And Ford finally gets fed up. He's had enough.
He points a finger at the lawyer and says, and this is a paraphrase, "If I should really want to answer the foolish question you have just asked, let me remind you that I have a row of electric push buttons on my desk."
And by pushing the right button, I can summon to my aid men who can answer any question I desire to ask concerning the business to which I am devoting most of my efforts.
He finishes with, "Now will you kindly tell me, why should I clutter up my mind with general knowledge for the purpose of being able to answer questions when I have men around me who can supply any knowledge I require?"
That is the ultimate mic drop. The courtroom was stunned.
It is, Ford's point was. An educated man is not the one who acts like a walking encyclopedia. An educated man is one who knows where to get the knowledge he needs, when he needs it, without cluttering his mind.
This connects directly to the mastermind principle, doesn't it?
It does. Ford didn't need to know the tensile strength of steel himself. He needed to know how to hire the man who knew it. That is the definition of organized knowledge.
Which brings us perfectly into Section 6, organized planning and leadership. The mastermind is a central concept in this book.
It is. It's one of the cornerstones of the whole philosophy. Hill defines the mastermind as the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose in a spirit of perfect harmony.
Perfect harmony seems to be the tricky part. I feel like most group projects fall apart because people hate each other.
That's why harmony is the qualifier. If you have friction, disagreement, or ego in the group, the power dissipates. It's about leveraging the brain power and energy of others to create a third mind.
A third mind.
Yes, a psychic energy that is greater than the sum of the parts. It's the idea that 1 + 1 = 3.
Hill also breaks down leadership in this section. He doesn't just say be a leader. He gives you a list.
The 11 major attributes of leadership. And these are timeless. Unwavering courage, self-control, a keen sense of justice, definiteness of decision.
One that stood out to me was the habit of doing more than paid for, the go-giver principle.
That's a recurring theme in Hill's work. He had a whole formula for it, the QQS formula.
Yeah.
Quality, quantity, and spirit. You have to deliver the quality of service and the quantity of service. But the third one, the spirit of service, is often the deciding factor.
What does he mean by spirit?
Your attitude, your personality, agreeable conduct. You can be the best worker in the world, but if you're miserable to be around, if you're a toxic presence, you won't last. Your spirit determines your value.
He also lists willingness to assume full responsibility.
A true leader takes the blame. If a follower makes a mistake, the leader considers it their failure for not training them properly. That's high accountability.
Now, on the flip side, Hill gives us the 30 major causes of failure. It's a brutal list. It's like a roast of humanity.
It is. It's a diagnostic checklist of why people don't make it. You're meant to read it and see where you show up.
Some of them are obvious. Lack of a well-defined purpose, procrastination. But some are surprising. Let's talk about sexual urge.
Yes, item number 10. He lists the sexual urge as the most powerful human stimulus.
Which makes sense biologically. It's the drive to procreate.
Right. But his argument is that this energy is so powerful that if it isn't controlled and transmuted into other creative channels like business or art or innovation, it leads to failure.
He's talking about energy management.
Exactly. He noticed that many men didn't achieve great success until they were in their 40s or 50s, precisely because they learned to redirect that powerful energy away from pure physical expression and into their work. It's not about suppression, it's about redirection.
Another one that jumps out, wrong selection of a mate.
A huge one. He says misery in a marriage destroys ambition. If you're fighting at home, if you have no peace, you can't conquer the world. The home base needs to be a source of harmony and support.
And he also mentions the something-for-nothing mentality gambling.
Which ties back to the earlier point. You must define what you are giving in return for riches. The lottery mindset is a poverty mindset. If you are waiting for luck to save you, you have already lost the game.
Okay, we're coming to the grand finale. Section 7, the United States Steel story. Hill uses this to tie everything together. Imagination, faith, planning, the mastermind. This is the boss fight of the book.
This is one of the greatest business stories in American history. It explains how the United States Steel Corporation was born out of a single idea expressed in a single speech. It's a masterclass in persuasion.
So set the scene for us.
It's December 12, 1900, a dinner at the University Club in New York. The guest of honor is Charles M. Schwab. He's young, only 38 years old, the president of Carnegie Steel.
And the audience.
The heavy hitters, the old money. 80 of the biggest bankers and tycoons in the country. And sitting right next to him is J.P. Morgan, the Emperor of Wall Street, a man who is known for being intimidating, stern, and hating long speeches.
Schwab gets up to speak. Now, usually these after-dinner speeches were short, polite, and boring.
But Schwab does something different. He talks for 90 minutes.
90 minutes. In a room full of bankers with short attention spans, that's incredibly risky.
It was. He could have bored them to death, but he mesmerized them. He didn't use notes. He painted a picture. Up until then, the steel industry was fragmented, competitive, inefficient.
And Schwab had a vision.
He outlined a vision of a steel empire, a trust that could lower costs through economies of scale, capture world markets, and dominate the global industry. He took an abstract idea and made it concrete and exciting in the minds of those bankers.
He was selling them a dream.
He was selling them a reality that didn't exist yet. He spoke with such faith, such clarity, such passion, that by the end of it, the whole room was buzzing.
J.P. Morgan is hooked.
Morgan is completely hooked. He takes Schwab into a corner and they talk for another hour. The big question on the table is, will Andrew Carnegie sell his steel mills to form this new corporation?
Carnegie was the giant. If he didn't sell, there was no deal. He had to be brought in.
So Schwab becomes the middleman. He goes to Carnegie, he plays golf with him, he uses his charm, his diplomacy, he doesn't push, he persuades. And finally, on a slip of paper, Carnegie writes a number.
The price for his empire.
It was approximately $400 million.
Which in 1900 is astronomical. It's almost unimaginable.
It's tens of billions today. Schwab takes the paper to Morgan. Morgan glances at it and says, without hesitation, I accept.
And just like that, U.S. Steel is born, the world's first billion-dollar corporation.
Now here's the kicker. This is Hill's analysis. He says the physical plants, the mills, the machinery were worth a certain amount, but the company was capitalized for much, much more.
The dreaded watered stock.
Right. The company was capitalized at over $1 billion. There was about $600 million of water in the stock, meaning value, that was created purely by the idea, the faith, and the organization that Schwab brought to the table.
So that $600 million wasn't metal. It wasn't real estate. It was mind.
Exactly. The idea plus the faith literally created $600 million of tangible wealth out of thin air. Schwab transmuted a thought into a fortune.
It's the ultimate proof of the entire philosophy.
It is. It shows that the principles work at the highest levels of high finance, just as they work for the insurance salesman or the inventor or the father of a deaf child. It's the same physics.
So we've covered a lot today. From the tramp who wanted to be a partner, to the sermon that bought a college, to the billion-dollar dinner. What is the takeaway here? How do we wrap this all up?
If we summarize the journey, the whole process, it starts with desire. A burning, definite desire.
Not just a wish.
Never just a wish. That desire is fueled by faith and auto-suggestion. You have to believe it before you see it.
It's then organized by planning and specialized knowledge. You don't need to know everything, but you need a plan and the right people.
And it's sustained by persistence. You can't stop 3 feet from gold. You just can't.
And the secret? Hill kept teasing the secret.
Yeah.
We told the listeners to look for it. Have we found it?
I think we've circled it enough to name it. The secret is simply this. Thoughts are things.
Thoughts are things.
That's it. Your thoughts are powerful, tangible forces that have the creative power to translate themselves into their physical equivalent. You are the master of your fate because you, and only you, control your thoughts.
So if you feed your subconscious mind thoughts of poverty and failure and fear,
it will dutifully translate them into the reality of your life. But if you feed it thoughts of wealth and success and courage mixed with emotion and faith,
It will translate those into reality instead.
the secret is that you have absolute control over the one thing that matters most: your own mind.
That is both incredibly empowering and honestly a little terrifying.
It is, because it puts all the responsibility squarely on you. There is no one else to blame for your life.
I want to leave the listener with a final thought from the book. Hill writes, "Both poverty and riches are the offspring of thought."
Which brings up the most important question of all, the one you should take with you from this deep dive. Which offspring are you cultivating right now?
Something to think about tonight. Find your burning desire, define it, write it down, and don't stop 3 feet from gold. Thanks for diving deep with us.
See you next time.